Shake it before you bake it.
Are we trying to get the best race car drivers on the racetrack, or are we trying to get the biggest social media following?
I got a message for all of them. Ready? Shake and bake.
What does that do? Did that blow your mind?
This guy run 2 plate races last year, wrecked in both of them, wrecked half the field in one of them.
Shake and bake.
Yeah. What?
Shake and bake.
It's not Cletus's fault, but it's NASCAR's
I
fault.
love it. Say it one more time.
Shake and bake.
It feels like a movie.
And it's shake and bake time.
It's shake and bake. It's nonsense.
When you bring up the topic of Garrett Mitchell, a.k.a. Cletus McFarland, it's a storyline that just seemingly rises to the top, especially when you're dealing with the NASCAR industry. We saw that again this past weekend at Rockingham Speedway, where he competed in the ARCA East Series as well as the O'Reilly Series. Now, as you saw in the intro, there's some people who are kind of distracted, kind of discouraged by the ability for him to come into the NASCAR Series so easily. But there's also millions of eyes and new followers following the NASCAR Series across the world, or riding along with him every time he jumps in the race car. Now, a lot of people compare this to a movie, Talladega Nights, the Ricky Bobby story, especially since he's got LS George out there racing with him in the ARCA East Series. It's shake and bake time for so many of his fans around the world. But for me, I kind of compare this to a different storyline, a different tale, kind of already told maybe a little bit out of Hollywood. And once you hear this little story right here, I'll give you my reasonings behind it. If you think about it, the story of Cletus McFarland making his way into the NASCAR Series does kind of have a Hollywood storyline to it. Is it like a movie? Some could argue that it is. Almost fictional, maybe too hard to believe. How does a gearhead with a natural talent for creating content on YouTube, a man who's gathered millions of fans along the way, end up in NASCAR? And not only end up in NASCAR, but already racing in 3 of the top 4 divisions of an organization without a circle track stock car background. This has caused a stir in the NASCAR industry, many being vocal that it's too risky and dangerous for an unproven driver to enter the high-speed, high-stakes world of NASCAR.
My son's probably run more races than he has, and he's 10 years old. You know what I mean? So I don't think that sets well with many of us.
But if we were to compare this fast-paced rise in the NASCAR Series to a Hollywood film, what would that film be? Let's see. A rookie driver in the series, a legendary car owner, a legendary name of the sport coaching him along the way, a test session on the high banks to determine future eligibility. That's what would describe Cletus McFarland. And that would also describe this guy. Okay, there is no real comparison between the fictional Cole Trickle in Days of Thunder to the real-life adventures of Cletus McFarland. But there are similarities that you can't ignore. First, Cole Trickle, a fictional name, a character, a driver of other forms of racing who is new to the stock car racing industry, especially NASCAR. Then there's Cletus McFarland, a fictional name, a character, a driver of other forms of racing who is new to stock car racing, especially NASCAR. In fact, Cletus didn't even know what the ARCA Series was just a couple years before he entered his first race.
He's like, yeah, you got to start in ARCA. And I mean, this is the first time I've ever heard ARCA. To be honest with you, I haven't been watching NASCAR race in 5 years unless I was at the race cheering on my buddy Alex Bowman.
Gotcha.
Both kind of have an underdog storyline. Both enter the NASCAR Series rapidly. Both have charisma, a hero vibe to their fans. Neither come from a racing pipeline into the series, but both learn from trial by fire. Cole Trickle is a character performed by Tom Cruise. Cletus McFarland is a character performed by Garrett Mitchell. But there is one huge difference. Cletus McFarland and Garrett Mitchell are one and the same. One that many will argue isn't a character at all, but just an extension of Garrett Mitchell. Now, I know some people will say, dude, you're crazy. This is shake and bake all the way. This is Talladega Nights. But to me, this is more of the story that followed Days of Thunder. What Cletus McFarland is doing to NASCAR right now is exactly what that movie did in the early 90s for NASCAR. It brought new eyes to the series. It opened up a series that a lot of people looked at as a southern, maybe even redneck sport, and put it on a national stage. It grew it by leaps and bounds all throughout the 90s. This is what NASCAR is doing in collaboration with Cletus McFarland right now. It's a social media following. It's a new day. It's a new time. It's a new platform. And the millions of people around the world that are watching him have become fans of NASCAR because of his contribution to the sport. And again, love him or hate him, you can't take away from that. That's building something that every race driver, every crew member, every person that's out there has believed in, and for their love of the sport. And I generally think Cletus has a genuine love for the sport. I think it's a passion, it's a drive, it's a challenge to try to come to new conclusions, to do better, prove himself, personal challenges. I like that. Now, I think that the movie Days of Thunder, the sequel that's coming out, part 2, would be really dumb to not include a cameo appearance by Cletus McFarland, because those millions of eyes are going to be right there in the theaters to watch it simply because he's in it. Even if it wasn't but a 5-second clip, they'll be there. That's the power that he has. I did a past episode where I labeled it star power, and the dude has it, and there's no denying that. And I think a lot of people are upset about that because there's a lot of people who have worked their way up through, running all the bull rings, the short tracks, everything to make it to these levels, and they never reach that type of power. But that's a self-made man who's done this. And we also got to look at this. There's so many drivers who come up through right now that are riding on mom and daddy's money. We've talked about this a lot. There's other people that got pure talent that gets them to the top. That's very rare these days. But even with that pure talent, once they get to the top, you still got to have that money to stay there. And hopefully their talent will be enough to keep them there. But then we got Garrett Mitchell. It's a guy who's paid his way into those ARCA races on his own dime. A self-made man. And I respect that. I appreciate that. And I'd like to see more people across the board do that. Whether you believe in the way that he's come up through to get here or not, he's here. He's done it. He went out there, placed 4th in the ARCA race at Rockingham. It's pretty impressive, man. Even though it's the ARCA East, it's not the full crew, not the full field of the normal ARCA series. But he went out there, a respectable 4th place finish. And his partner, LS George, 9th place. The last couple weeks, they brought more eyes to this series than have ever been there before. That's respectable. That's very respectable. In the O'Reilly series, as we saw with the ARCA series, NASCAR is not one bit afraid to put that in-car camera in there and promote it, push it all across YouTube, because they know eyes are coming along with it. That's building the sport. That's building what we know and what we love. And if you have a passion for racing, you got to respect that. You got to love it. You got to enjoy it because it's going to help everybody else. Look at all the ARCA drivers right now from the last 2 weeks. People that most people wouldn't know their names. But now they see that name and they're like, I remember that name. He drives ARCA. That's what these guys did. And I think they need to be commended on that. Now, do I necessarily think that the road that they've taken to get here is the right one? It's not my place to say. I can't say. But that's what NASCAR approves. That's the way they want it. It's the way it's going to be. Do I think this will happen with other people? I highly doubt it. I don't think there's too many other YouTubers out there who have the ability or the financing to come up and do something like this, even in the ARCA series. And we got Mitchell Stapleton out there doing his thing. And as you follow either one of these guys coming up through here, you see it's a difficult task. It's difficult to do. But with Cletus, what we've seen is he's been humble about this. He's facing realities. He's giving respect to the drivers out there. And he's letting people know, hey, this isn't easy. This isn't for everybody. You just can't jump in one of these things, hit the racetrack, and go. Which I think a lot of people kind of feel that's the way it is. But you learn as you go. He's paying his dues now. Maybe he didn't have to pay him coming up through all the short tracks. But he's paying his dues. Going back out there, getting him a late model. He's going to learn more. That's passion, man. And I respect that. And I hope the dude sticks around. And I wish him the best through everything else. And I'm going to tell you something else I've really noticed about these guys here recently. They're God-loving men. And I respect them more for that. That's what we need more in this world right now. Characters, personality, and just good people. And I think they fit that bill, both LS George and Cletus. And so many other drivers out there. But NASCAR's changed. And I do think Cletus McFarland is kind of the modern day Days of Thunder. What's your thoughts on this? How you feel about this? Am I completely back-ass crazy? Or am I hitting on something right here? NASCAR's going to use this. They've been using it. They know what's there. They know what leverage they got with him being in this series. And again, like it or not, he's here. Hope you all have a great week out there. And as always, we'll see you at the checkered flag.
Yeah.